headphones, I'd have to literally like have it like, I don't know, like I wouldn't be able to just have them on top of my head like that. That's just barbaric.
What, having headphones?
For me, it's barbaric. So you look cool with your headphones. Do you know what I mean?
Just put them on and you see. Just put them on normally and you see.
I just did have them on normally. Didn't like it. Such a dickhead. I don't think I can do it with headphones. I don't want to do it with headphones. That's why. Couldn't I just have them in my lap that every now and then I just test it?
Well, it's not gonna matter if you miss. If at that point you check it
and then missed it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do a whole podcast with these things.
Well, why would you have them like that?
Why
would you hold them?
No,
you'd wear them and you'd eventually forget about them. You twat.
I don't think I want to do it with headphones. No, I don't want to. You're such a dickhead. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You might go off like there. If none of that got recorded.
I got off like there, yeah.
I got the audio there. So. And get that like bitch.
Just honey, if you want me to continue doing this shit, then I suggest you should stop with your big boy bullshit.
No. I was saying, yes. So, take 3. Yeah, it seems to be basically becoming.
And what you're going to do with that can of Coke is like what you do with your dirty forks and spoons when you're eating food and you're waving it all around like an utter dickhead. So what you need to do is stop doing this with your can of Coke and put the fucker down, man.
Go fuck yourself.
No, but that's what you do though. You're so extra with shit like that. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's like you need a prop, some shit. Like I know I'm bad with my hands, but I don't have a can of Coke in there that I'm doing all this, and then when you go and open it, it's going to spray all over you.
Just do it freestyle.
I do freestyle. Yeah, the hands, that's fine, but I don't have
the head.
fucking chicken spoon and shit. Right, but all of that's not in there anyway, so it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, no. Yes, it seems to be.
Well, remember that we've got to do it again because it wasn't recording. So we was talking in the car earlier about parenting.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah. Start again. Yeah. Take 4. Yeah, when we're chatting in the car earlier, and I was saying that like what I keep seeing is that like it's now becoming sort of acceptable to have misbehaved kids, and basically like I saw one.
Aside from acceptable, I just think it's the norm.
Yeah,
I don't think that you see, a great deal of people out for dinners or doing things with their children and it be calm, cool and calculated, and then it's just like sit down. Yeah,
but I think now it's becoming it's not a problem. Like before there was a time where if you had a misbehaved kid and they're screaming in like.
No, I see. I feel that was more in African cultures.
Yeah, but
I don't feel like in the white culture it's like that.
No, but even before, if you had a misbehaved kid, like I remember when we used to live in London, like if there was a kid that was a little shit, people would be like, that kid's a little shit. That's a naughty kid.
We definitely did have that. That kid's a naughty kid, but I do still feel like.
Don't get me wrong. Like,
I feel like the parameters, even when I was growing up. Like I don't think. But now it was like.
Almost, but now it's almost a given that if your kid starts screaming the restaurant down,
yeah,
people are like, yeah, that's fine. Or if you call your kid, like when we went to what do you call it? When we went to Russian Lakes today, and that kid nearly come. Yeah. Clearly, he ran off from his mum. His dad is behind us somewhere, like coming from behind the car, and the kids just runs both of them. But there was no reprimanding of what are you doing? You're in a car park. You nearly just got ran over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can see even the parents were like a bit. They were sheepish. There was none. And the thing is, the funny thing is that those parents didn't look as if they were the same age as us. They seemed like they were older than we were.
Yeah. So
which is weird. So it's not even a case of it's like a younger generation thing.
Yeah.
I think it is just a case of.
No, but I just think a lot probably on the other takes when we were speaking about it. That I do think like a lot of people go for the easier option, and and I know I think it's difficult because I think it's easy for us to say because we have been on our kids. Like I was putting Franklin on the step at 9 months old. Do you know what I mean? So we have been on our kids from very early on, and the reason that we did that is I was quite straight talking on the fact that I can't have that kid that's going to, like you say, embarrass me out and start running off or running the road screaming and hollering and stuff like that. So I always knew that I needed to put that work in straight from day one, and basically be like, this is how we behave in the house, out of the house, no negotiation. But it's not been, I don't feel like it's been like tremendously hard, but then at the same time, I suppose it would have been like, it's rinse repeat all the time. Like you kind of have to be on them, like you've always said, you be on them for the small things, so that when they get older,
Well, I think it's that. I think if you want, I think that's the problem. People don't. I think parents nowadays, I don't think it's just parents. I think people in general, I don't think they respect the small things enough, and I don't think they get onto their kids about the small things. I remember initially even like small things, like for example, whenever you said, when you finish at the table, put your knife and forks together, just as a fine sort of so that you're finished or whatever. And again, it's not necessarily my thing, but I didn't understand the importance that, like, you're kind of setting a precedence that when we're at the dinner table, it's the dinner table. It's not a play. We're not. Do you know what I mean? We're not. It's not a playground. We're not mucking
messing about. We're sitting down, we're eating dinner.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, even like, please can I leave the table and stuff, like all of those things. But I was on the manners. I have zero tolerance for no manners.
Yeah.
Whoever you are, like I can't deal with it. Whether you're a grown ass adult or a child, like.
Well, I think
even the other day, walking back from school, this kid went meh, like this. Excuse me, like what? You want me to move out of your way for your scooter? But that, again, I didn't. He's not my kid. Obviously, I didn't say nothing. I just moved to the side. But I was just like, I let my kids know that's not how you get somebody to move out of the way.
Yeah.
I was like, that's rude. He should have said, "Excuse me, please."
Yeah.
Quite simple.
Well, I think it's that. I think the problem is people don't when the kids are at home and they're misbehaving, they're not listening. I think it's that thing of people don't want to be embarrassed. So when he's at home, obviously there's no one else looking. So they'll always let things
but see,
slide.
I didn't want to be embarrassed, darling. You remember that time in IKEA? My goodness, like no way. So I don't want to be embarrassed, but that was one of the reasons why. Because exactly that, I'm going to hold my hands up. When the kids were younger, now I probably wouldn't give them monkeys, not so much. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when they were younger, I was a little bit more sort of like, oh, I don't want to have an embarrassing situation like that. I don't want everyone staring at me. That was one of the reasons. I've only ever had 2 situations with Franklin and never again. Eden's tested me a little bit more than that. But at the same time...
I think it's a tyrant at one point, mate.
Yeah, she was. But again, at the same time, I don't have situations like that with my children now. So I don't have any of that. And I suppose like...
I think the thing with kids are, I think once you sort of... I think whether they will acknowledge it or not, I think once they see that you're afraid or that you're nervous in a certain situation.
Definitely.
And I think those situations there where I think because they know the difference when you're at home. Because let's say you're one of them parents, it just swears at the kid left, right, and center, or you swear at your kids, a fair bit, or you behave a certain type of way towards them, which is more closer to what your actual personality is. And then you leave the house, and then you immediately change into this other person. Like the kids, even if they're not aware, they're not like all the way consciously aware. They're gonna be that's gonna be in their mind, sort of in the sense that daddy talks a bit different when he's around this person, or he behaves a little bit different. And I think what happens is when you get those situations where when they misbehave in public, something where they know at home they'd kind of get told off for. And then all of a sudden they don't. I think I think kids sense that, and then this is where when they go to different places, they start acting up, especially when they see other kids being little shits. And then
because I make my kids well aware.
Do you know what I mean? So it's
that's how they roll in their house, and that's how they do things. That's just not how we do things.
I think that is where certain parents go wrong. I think you need to get your kids onto the small things, and I think it starts very small.
But the thing is I think that this is harder at the beginning when they're so young and they're learning, like, don't chuck, we've got to share, no smacking, all these little things that you get on them for when they're, babies and they have no idea, what they're doing. But it's then when they get older and they come and ask you for a biscuit and you go, you're not having a biscuit just yet, dinner's nearly ready. You don't get nothing other than, all right, Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I need in my life. I
Yeah.
need to be able to say to my child, no, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And that's okay. You know, I don't want to don't stamp your feet at me. Don't give me a little bit of lip.
Yeah.
Don't give me a huff. Don't want none of that. You know, I'm a reasonable person. So be reasonable.
But I think
Do you know what I mean?
But it's that, isn't it?
I'm fair.
It seems like someone might say that that's over the top when your kid huffs or they stamp their feet. But
they're the little things.
Yeah, I think if you don't address
if you don't demand some respect, you ain't going to get it. And I think at the end of the day, I always say, you know, to the kids, like, I show you respect. I'm doing this, this, and this. I talk to the kids like they're grown ass adults. I let them know everything.
I think you have
like,
to. I
explain everything. You think I explain too much, but I explain everything, and I'm like, this is why we're doing this. This is what the situation is.
So sometimes it's just a case of no, you're not doing it.
Yeah, so you're a bit more. Yeah, you're a bit more brutal with things like that. I explain a lot more, but the principle still remains the same.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily you're not going to be doing that, but I'll just explain it.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I think the other thing as well. I think you. I will say this. I don't think it's not an easy thing to. You know, to get your kids to be well behaved in terms of consistently.
No, it's
because
super
I think
hard,
the other thing as well, you kind of have to come.
It's relentless. It's Groundhog Day. You've got to rinse, repeat it every single day.
Yeah, and I think
all day, and you've got to think as well when you're new parents and when you're. Oh my gosh, like it's so intense because you're surviving on no sleep. You're surviving on you're running on empty a lot. And I think again as well, let's take into consideration as well. It all depends on what sort of partnership you've got. It all depends on how,
what I was gonna say, yeah,
whether you
have to
both
kind of
want to
meet,
do the parenting styles the same. You've got to also take into consideration if you've got a supportive partner, whether you've got somebody that's going to step in, whether somebody helps with the lack of sleep. Like all of those things are going to make a massive impact and massive difference. We have had a situation where we haven't necessarily always agreed on what we're doing, but we've been, you know, we're very supportive of one another in the sense that, you know, neither one of us leaves it to the other person and is just like, it's on you. There's not tit for tatty. It's very much sort of like, if I ask you for help, you're going to help me. If you ask me for help, I'm going to help you. We're not. Do you know what I mean? It's not like,
I think you ultimately both have to have the same goal in the sense of, okay, you know, you wanted this. I think that's the first thing you have to sort of establish from the get go. It's a case of what you're trying to do, like what kind of child are you trying to raise, or what kind of person are you trying to raise?
But I think as well, though, completely jumping in there, but do you not think as well it also boils down to, and this is you know, taking a complete spin, but it really does boil down to when it comes to becoming a parent and having a child with somebody, it's literally as simple as you got to pick the right person that's on the right page as you. Because if you think about, you know, we're very, very different, and we have very, very, you know, we've had completely different upbringings, but we both have fundamental morals and foundations that align, and we've both had consistency. So I think because we've both had consistency and we're quite consistent people within, you know, many aspects of our lives, I think that has massively helped, because all it takes is something like that to not be aligned within a relationship to then go into a parenting journey. And that can be catastrophic, really.
Well, I think I remember I said, I think one of the things that we were very fortunate about, which I think wasn't a conscious decision, is that, you know, neither one of us drank. So we've never, like, that aspect, which is, like, you know, quite a common thing.
What, going out and drinking?
Yeah. We've never had to have those conversations of, I want to drink tonight. Or you want to drink tonight.
I again don't have any patience for that. But then I think
but what I'm saying,
I'm so brutal.
You didn't necessarily go out thinking to yourself, I'm going to get with someone who doesn't drink.
No, I never. Do you know what the thing is I never actually thought that was a thing. You know, I obviously, well, you know, I personally wouldn't like to feel out of control, and I don't really need a drink to have a good time. Probably just make me cry anyway. You know, there's many reasons as to why I probably wouldn't, but I don't drink. But before I was with you, I never thought that was something.
Can you hold that for a sec, please?
I never thought that was something. Thanks. Yeah, I never thought that was actually something that would matter. But then, lucky I gave it back, boy. Yeah, I don't think that would have necessarily mattered. But then I feel like since now being on a parenting journey and, you know, being together and stuff, I would 100% have zero tolerance for drunk behaviours coming in, stumbling in, waking the kids or anything. Like, I would have no time for that. Spewing up your guts. Don't think so, sunshine. I wouldn't have any time for that.
I honestly think...
that wouldn't end well, would it? Because you know the kind of person I am. I feel like I would be like... I would be a bear with a sore head the next day if that kind of behaviour had happened. You'd have zero tolerance for the attitude that I'd bring. It would just be a disaster.
I honestly think that the way that sort of people that drink, the only way they deal with those sort of things is, I guess I was that last week. So
Yeah,
I will let you slide for being a twat this week.
I think if you are both drinkers, I think you automatically come with a level of understanding.
Yeah, because at some point you're both going to be in that position.
Whereas I think because I have no understanding. So when I say I have zero tolerance for it, I don't mean it to be like rude and disrespectful. But we've had situations before where, you know, you've been around somebody that's drunk and the way that they've behaved, then the next day you're like, what the actual hell? And then you're but they were drunk, Laura. They're obviously fine now. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not fine now. I feel like that was utter disrespect. So it's really difficult because my brain goes, I'm always on rational. I'm always on, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention.
Well, there's never an excuse of, this is drunk me, or this is this is sober me. And I think it is. But again, it's what we're talking about. I mean, that comes back to, it's like, I think I might got lost in the other take when I was talking about basically like how it's now becoming, it's acceptable to have a child that doesn't listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now like it's almost a case of that's almost something that all parents can meet in the middle on, or can relate to, in the sense of my kid doesn't listen either. But that's not. Yeah. But the truth is
that shouldn't be the norm, though.
No,
should it?
and the truth is like.
But I think it's as well, like, I know this is so heavy and deep, but it's how that's going to affect them as an individual later on in life. Because you have to think about the fact of all of these things that we're doing as parents to instill in our children to be able to cope, manage with their emotions, manage all of these different situations that we're talking about. You know, we're thinking of a child being in a restaurant and just, I don't know, chucking his knife and fork on the floor and basically screaming, you know, at 5 years old, I don't want it. At 5, I'm not talking, you know, a 1-year-old, talking 5 years old. You would think to yourself like, okay, well, that's utterly unacceptable. Why on earth? And, you know, maybe the parent doesn't do anything about that. But, you know, if you think of the implications of that when they're older, what sort of character and what sort of person they're going to become. I know that sounds really extreme,
no, but
if you think of that on a regular basis and I don't want that toy. Whatever, all these little things that they're going to be doing on a regular basis, the magnitude that's going to become. That's going to become, let's be real, you know, potentially somebody that's can't manage their emotions, potentially could be, you know, not the nicest person when they're older. That sounds really extreme, I know, but you've got to think of all of these kind of things. If you're never told that something or a behaviour is unacceptable, you know, because you want to savour the situation or savour their feelings, let's be real. When you get in the real world, somebody's going to tell you you're a dickhead. Somebody's going to tell you, that's not how we behave. That's not acceptable. You ain't cut for the job, mate. You know, there's going to be so many things.
That's the thing. I think this is where it sounds like it's over the top, but the truth is, when it comes to sort of children, I think you have to kind of, for them, their toys. Those are the important things to them at that time. So it's almost a case of how they treat those things.
Oh yeah,
will inevitably lead to
100%.
How they treat people. Do you know what I mean? So it's a case of, and the truth is, you can't do this thing where you say to yourself, they just, you know, it doesn't matter right now, because you can't raise a kid a certain way for X amount of years and then all of a sudden one day
it
say,
doesn't work.
Actually, what you've been doing before is actually incorrect.
It's like
you now need to behave this way.
No,
like,
you've got to put the blueprint in like right at the beginning.
You know what I mean? Yeah, from
you
the jump,
really have to. You must.
You kind of got to start as you mean to go on.
Start as you mean to go on.
And again, it's not, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to sort of.
Excuse me.
I'm not trying to sort of go on as if I'm some, you know, some.
No, because
I nearly said kid whisperer, but that just sounds wrong.
No, but I feel like don't say that.
Wrong. But I'm not trying to like I'm some child expert.
No, I don't think that we're
it is a case of common
experts
sense
or anything. I think we've you know,
it's trial and error, isn't it?
100% trial and error. It's hard work. Like even the other day, like Franklin had decided to, you know, what was it? Like dig his stone in his desk and was like, oh, bear claws. And he decided not to tell me such a thing. And then when I see it, I was like, have you drew on your desk? And he was like, no, it's not. I've not drew on it. I've scratched it. I was like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you scratch that? I said, that's my desk. I bought you this. Like, who do you think you are to do that to your desk? It might be in your room, but that's my money. That's my desk, technically. And he was just like, oh, I'm sorry. And I said, you know, respect and well done for telling me the truth. You didn't lie about it. Yeah. Obviously, you know, nothing bad's going to happen. But the reality is we don't do that. That's not how we treat things. And he had done this little swiggle thing on this piece of paper. And I went to him and I screwed it up. And I said, how's that make you feel? And he was like, oh, no, that's not very nice. And I was like, exactly. Now we can straighten that back out and that be fixed. Okay?
Yeah.
If I went and tore that up and that's it, then it's gone, you're going to feel really type of way about that. You scratching the desk, I can't fix that now. That desk is the way it is. That desk is forever going to be scratched now. So I know that sounds intense and deep, but it's little things like that. Like, I explain everything, but the reality is you better look after your things. Like, you don't draw on my walls. Don't be, you know, even blue tack. Don't be putting blue tack on the walls because you're going to take my paintwork off, and that's hard to fix. I ain't got a tin of paint just round the corner with a paintbrush ready to start slapping paint on the walls on a regular basis. I haven't got time for that.
But I think it is a thing where, as I said, I think you kind of have to instill these lessons into because the truth is there's adults, like, you know, there's people who are adults who have not learned these basic simple principles of be accountable for what it is you do, or if you behave a certain type of way.
Oh, that's that word. You always said that, didn't you? You always said they need to be able to be accountable for their actions.
Yeah, and I think it's like because even, and I think this is the part that I think a lot of parents, and I'll include myself as well. I think there's a thing that a lot of parents do tend to forget, because you kind of forget that you forget that you were a kid at one point, and you forget that you at one point you were dependent on your parents. And now you're all of a sudden you're just in the world as this individual. And I think what people will tend to do, I think they forget that eventually your kid is going to be an adult out in the world by themselves.
And that's a terrifying thought process, isn't it? Because you've got and that's what scares me, because even me, like I've said to you so many times, like I'm an anxious person. I overthink, I worry, I'm a stressy, like, oh my God, is this? I do all this all the time. You are completely the opposite to that. You are so laid back, it's ridiculous. But I'd love to be more like you. Being with somebody like you, I'm like, God, how my life would be so much easier. So many things now, I'm like, do you know what, actually, comfort zones and, you know, being in that sort of like, just in that little bubble, you know, me as an individual, I'm like, oh, let's mollycoddle, let's protect, let's do all of that. But actually, I'm going to only hinder my child as they get older.
Well, I think,
and that's the problem.
Well, I think that's it, because essentially what you're trying to get them to do is sort of, you're trying to get them to basically be able to, it's like, okay, for example, I say to Franklin all the time, like, it's, for the most part, you're going to do what you like, but should you choose option A, these are the consequences. If you choose option B, these are the consequences. So for example, like, you know, simple thing of like biscuits. So you give them an allowance of, okay, you can have 2 biscuits before bed or whatever with your milk. If you want another one, then you're gonna, then the price is 10 burpees. And lo and behold, I remember before we sort of implemented that, Frank would absolutely tank back whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, he would still, you know, be like, yeah, I'll do some more burpees for an extra biscuit, but very rarely he doesn't do it all the time. And in fact, only every now and then he'll say, and if he does, he says, can I have one more? Because I think there was once he's like, oh, Dad, I want to have
2.
3. Yeah, he's like, 2. Yeah. And I said, are you sure, man? That's going to be 20 burpees. He's like, yeah. And he was doing them, and at that point he's like, okay, maybe these biscuits aren't worth. Yeah. Because of course when he eats them, they're gone in 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
But then burpees, do you know what I mean? So it is.
But even sometimes he'll say to me, he does it most of the time, can I do 10 extra burpees for the extra biscuit? Depending on the size of the biscuit, mate. Like, no. You can have 2 because you've already had whatever else. Yeah. If you haven't, then potentially. But but again, I think to myself, I've seen both of them want that extra biscuit and do them 10 burpees. And I sit there and I think, wow, do you know what? Respect to it, because there's no way I wouldn't even know what a burpee was, mate, back in the day. Well, I wouldn't have, probably wasn't even a thing, but do a star jump. But
it is the thing that you're letting them know that there are, because of course, you know, we've sort of given them a brief sort of understanding of food, in the sense of these foods that taste delicious, they do come at a price. And, you know, there was a time where, because when it comes to this junk food, Franklin would eat that all day. Eat it. Yeah. She's kind of naturally, she's like, nah, I don't really want it.
She knows limits.
He would, and don't get me wrong, he's a very active kid, so But again, these are habits that you want to get drill into them in a sense of, if you're going to choose to decide to have these foods constantly, which is it's very easy to do so, there is a price for it, and sort of when you weigh it up, it's not really worth it, because as you know, I mean, you're more, and I've tried to explain it to you many times. You know, you think you're hungry, but like I said, like eventually, what you do in your life is gonna have nothing to do with me. Like now, when I go to do something, I don't go and consult my parents to be like, oh, mum, dad, can I go do this? You know what I mean? For the most part, it is a case of, I'm by myself now, and should I get in some trouble, I can't. In my head, I'm not thinking, let me go to mummy and daddy and be like, oh, listen, I need some such and such, this and any other. So I think it is that, and I think this is where I think a lot of parents do. I think they forget that, and it's easy to forget that, because, like, even for myself, and again,
it's in the rat race of Groundhog Day. It's so hard.
Do you know what I mean?
It's so hard every day doing rinse repeat, and it's easy to just forget about these small things and forget about, oh, he spoke to me like a bit of a dickhead. Then it doesn't matter, or he stamped his feet at me. Oh, it doesn't matter. You know, all of these little things. We all do just get to the point where, whereas, I suppose, like I said, like I just knew from the jump, like I did not want to have those kind of situations and embarrassing situations. And as I've thankfully gone on the journey, I've kind of then thought to myself, like, well, that people can think what they want. But I'm very consistent. But I'm also consistent with other people's kids. Like I will never be rude or nasty or start like hard discipline your kid. But if I see signs of something that I deem is inappropriate, I would say, that's not very kind. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Pick that up. You shouldn't have chucked somebody's shoes, whatever it may be. I will be quite like, but I'm the same across the board. But I'm also very much somebody that if my child is in your presence and they misbehave, I do not want my child to be getting away with it. I want my child to be told that's not appropriate. I would like to think I brought my kids up well enough that they're going to go in somebody's house, they're going to use their manners, and they wouldn't be disrespectful. But if they did, then I would want somebody to let them know that is not acceptable. This isn't how we speak to somebody. You know, or whatever.
But it's like when we were in that garden centre and went into that camping shop area a bit. Is it called Warehouse or whatever it is? That place. And you know, the kids were running and playing around, and again, it didn't seem to be bothering anybody. But it's one of them things where it's not a playground. Like
we're not running around.
If you cause an accident with another kid or whatever it is,
or you jump in, but again, how many times have you been in a shopping centre and a child's then ran out and then you've nearly hit them or something? And then how many times have we then been in the other situation where our child's then gone to, you know, run down an aisle and then some poor person's like, I'm like, if they'd have hit you, you'd have ruined their day. That would have made them feel really upset. Because if I hit a child with my bloody shopping trolley, I'd feel crappy about that. Somebody else is going to feel that way. That's not what we need to be doing in here.
See, I probably wouldn't.
Well, no, you probably wouldn't use it.
But again, like I say,
empathy of a fish, hun.
But the thing is, again, but I'll say this though. I always say, like I said, when it comes to how your kid turns out, it's either to do something you did do or something you didn't do, and whether that's something that you did do was
you've always said that actually. And again, it's interesting because before I was with somebody like yourself and before I had children, I'd never thought about this, but you've always said to me, it was like, if anything happens and our children end up doing drugs or they do this, that or the other, it's the parents, you know, and that's a brutal thought process. And that's a real like, oh my God, that's a gut wrencher that you think to yourself, God, yeah, when they go and make a bad choice, that's on you. But I suppose really, I'm a firm believer you are what you're taught. Yeah. You are what you're taught.
Well, I think, it's a case of, I think, there's like, if it's I think a lot of people do think there's like they, you know, their kid will behave a certain way and they'll go, oh, well, it's just, and it's not, because the truth is it's one of two things. Either you don't know your kid well enough because you've kind of decided to neglect that part in a sense of like spending time with them, getting to find out who they are, or you've ignored these signs where they've done something when they're young and something said to you, I should probably address that. Yeah. And you thought, you know what, it's too difficult, so let me leave. The amount of time I've heard parents say, I've tried, but they just don't listen. I'm thinking, what do you mean the kid doesn't listen? Like that's on you in a sense, because this is where we come back to. Because I think
if you set that precedence from a very, very early age, they won't know not to listen to you. Exactly, does that make sense? Because I do understand that when a child is 8 years old and they're then not listening to you and they're giving you disrespect and they're giving you all this attitude, it's then like, okay, how do you get them to then listen to you at 8 years old? But the reality is like you say, I don't have that issue because I literally from
the get go, like
well, from 2 months, mate.
Yeah.
Like, from the jump, mate.
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing. So if when it comes to sort of
simple, like
if you start
base,
if you like I say,
right from the beginning,
if you get them to respect the little things, then you can set a precedence for them understanding the big things. So if you get them to understand, sort of pick up I reckon it starts something as simple as pick up your toys.
Oh, as simple as that.
Pick up your toys.
As simple as a baby doesn't understand that when they're hitting you or they're pinching your skin, that's that's hurting you. Like even that, if you just as a parent just take that off, like stop them doing it, but don't address it. I'll be like, no, we don't do that. Thank you. That's not nice. That's hurting mummy. You don't want to hurt mummy. 2-3 months old, they ain't going to have a clue. But over time, through me consistently doing that and letting them know, ouch, no, that's hurting me. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Me doing that consistently for those period of time, by the time they're 9 months, and if they hit me, they'd know immediately that, oh, that's not good. Mummy's not happy about that. But they didn't. Like, I was fortunate they obviously didn't. But again, I was proper... on that from the jump.
But you know that kids know, like, kids gauge, like, kids do understand because even like in school, you knew certain teachers you could get away.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And certain teachers you're like, let me not even. Like, there's kids that were like some of the worst kids in school. With certain teachers, they're like, nah, I'm gonna step back and leave it because they understand this, and then they see the certain. And again, you know what the other thing as well. The other thing that it shouldn't be, but it is a problem, unfortunately. And I think this is just in human nature. And this is where it comes back to us also as well. Getting to a point where you're both on the same track when you're parenting. What happens is this. You could have a situation where you have a certain parenting style. And let's say the parenting style isn't necessarily that strict. It's a bit laid back. But for the most part, it kind of works in a sense. If one of yous then comes in that's very, very strict, what happens is then you create this contrast where the kid now, let's say for something as simple as, okay, if the kid misbehaves, they get told, they get the finger wag, don't do that again, and that's it. And then the other parent then says, right, I'm going to take this toy away and you're going to go and have a timeout. Now what's happened is the kid understands there's a contrast of, this is a punishment, but this is the worst punishment. Mm-hmm. So now what happens is, I think if you're not on the same page, what's going to happen is that the same way how the kids in school understood so-and-so's a pushover, but this teacher isn't. And again, it's only from contrast. What happens is you now have this situation where the kid starts to sort of, depending on who's at home, they now start to adapt these two personas of, well, if I'm with parent number one, I'll behave this way.
I do get what you're saying.
Number two, I'll behave this way. And I think, again, I'm not saying that you have to...
No, see, I do understand what you're saying, but I think that it's all about showing that authority and, your discipline and the way that you would be with the children would be, they know that you're stricter than me, but they say you're both strict. They know that you're stricter than me and you're a zero tolerance for, most things. But then at the same time, they also know I'm a zero tolerance, but the way I would approach it would be different to you, but they know I'm strict. Does that make sense?
No,
so
absolutely.
I think it's an authority thing because when you're not here, the kids don't think, oh, I can get away with this because mum's here. I'm fortunate that the kids know that it's no negotiation.
Yeah, what does it?
So it's an authority thing.
To be fair, what I mean is this: like, let's say if they need to, you both need to you have to both be on the same page in the sense of there's consequences for doing something wrong. Yeah. So I'll use the wrong example. What I mean is that if one of you shows that there's consequences for doing something wrong, and the other one doesn't, then the kids that's gonna almost kind of
they'll immediately know. Yeah.
It will now become a case of, okay, when parent number one's here, I can do what I want.
It's all about whether you get at the end of the day, however you go about doing it, it's about whether you get the response that, you need to get. So for example, if you're telling the child, you would say, go tidy your room. I would say, can you go tidy your room? That's not me. I can, it's not the right way because I'm saying, can you? But if they turned around and said no, I'd be like, sorry, it wasn't a question. You're going to do it. But again, they would just go and do it. But again, it's that as long as what you're getting back from whatever you're doing is in like telling them to do something or asking them to do something, that they're still doing it, and they're showing you that respect and being like, and you know, I always say to the kids, I was like, show you respect all the time, and I'm doing this and this for you, you know, on a regular basis. You know, I do lots of niceties for you, and if I'm asking you to do something, then, you know, I expect you to do it, to be honest. And to be fair, especially simple things like that, because again, I'm not asking you to clean the whole house. I'm asking you to clean your room that you've messed. Yeah. But again, I'm very fortunate that if I turn around to the kids and it's, you know, you work nights and I'm here on my own and I'm still got the kitchen to do after dinner and stuff. If I turn around to the kids and say, right, guys, I need a little bit of help. I need you to help me do this folding of the washing or whatever. I have never once had one of them turn around to me and say, oh, but I was playing this game. What? Yeah. No. But again, I do ask them, and, you know, I'm fortunate that they don't give me that kind of response. Again, if it was that they were engrossed in a game and I was pulling them away from it and they were like, oh, I was just playing this game, whether I would be like, oh, do you know what, guys, like, it's fine, because it's not their, you know, I'm not, you know, it's not something that they have to be doing. But I'm also like, it's teamwork. I always say teamwork makes the dream, like, what is it? Teamwork makes the dream work, or something like that. I think I say all the time. So what's going to work? Teamwork. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I do it all the time with the kids. But fortunately, because we've kind of instilled that kind of mentality within the children, like, we can ask them to help or do anything. And it's kind of like, yeah, okay. It's not a, you know, all four of us was doing the folding of the washing earlier. You know, would you mind helping me? Can we all help, please? Let's just get it done. You know, but there's no, well, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, it doesn't look like a chore to them, and it's not like a chore to them. It's just like, can you just help us out, please? And it's, you know, I think that's really important.
Well, I think it's that thing that you by getting them to be involved with chores, and again, not to a point where, you know, they're trying to do it to the, you know, to the level that you would do it, but you're kind of making them aware that this shit just doesn't happen by itself. Yeah. Your clothes don't magically fold themselves, and your clothes don't mash it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, for example, one of the things they've adapted, when they take their clothes off, they put them in the wash basket, because they understand that if I don't put my clothes in there, they don't get washed. So it's okay. And, you know, they've had a couple of times when we're trying to look for Franklin's school uniform, whatever it is, where when we ask the question, has it been washed, this and the other? So he understands that there's a process to him having clean clothes, folded, ready for him to go, and this, that, and the other. So, and again, like I said, when you involve them in these situations where it's the washing up, the cleaning up, I think subconsciously they're going to understand.
It becomes second nature to them, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're going to understand that this isn't. There's
like things in life that are things that you have to do. Like, how many things do we have to do that we really can't be asked to do? And I think it's really important for the children to understand from a young age. Like, we get them to do obviously their writing and some numbers and stuff in the morning, and that's just part of their routine now. You get up and you do that. If you don't finish that before you have to come down for breakfast, then you'll have to finish that after school, which is going to take time out of your playing. But again, they don't even look at that as like a chore now. They're just like, oh, I've got to get it done. And if they've not done it, they'll just crack on and do it.
Well, the truth is, like, the truth is, kids will adapt to most things, and especially if you let them if you get them to understand the whys, the reasons the whys they're doing this, that, and the third. And if they understand that, you know, for example, like, you know, when it comes to them washing themselves, or what it is, like, for example, one of the things we say to Frank a lot is, you know, do what you need to do first, so then you can do what you want to do. Yeah. So it's very understood. Like, and you understand, you know, he's had a few situations where he's not done that, and he has to pay the price in the sense of when he wants to play whatever this, that, and the other, but he has to go and do his letters because he didn't finish them in the morning because he wasn't focused enough. He's understood it, and lo and behold, now he's.
But now he's even got into that thing. Actually, sorry to interrupt you. He's even got to that thing where he'll now say, if I go into him and be like, "What are you doing?" He'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I got distracted." Yeah. So he's even aware, like, he's able to, you know, say, instead of it be like, oh, you know, like it was a deflect before.
Yeah, he used to deflect a lot. Oh, but this happened.
Yeah, but this happened, that happened. It wasn't my fault. This, that, and the other. Whereas now he just straight away holds his hands up and says, sorry, I got distracted. And I'll be like, right, we'll crack on with it now. Yeah. And then he'll get on with it. And then if he gets distracted again, it means that he's not finished it. He's then got to do it after school. But again, he's able to, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's them being able to regulate their own emotions, you know, and understanding and expressing it in the right way and all of these things, they all take so much time. But I remember when Franklin was 1.5 years and I'm his mum and I just wanted to wash him, but he could wash himself, and you were like, but if he can wash himself and he's got that independence, why are we going to take that from him? Why would we hinder him? And I was like, well, other than just because of me. And I think that's even a conversation we've had so much, isn't it? It's about whose feelings is it that we're trying to save?
Yes, and I think, I'm so glad you touched on that, because I think a lot of the time when parents used to ask themselves before they do something or make a decision, then it's like, is this for me or is this for the kid?
And the amount of times that I, even myself, do things and I think of myself, like, because that situation with the washing, I really didn't want him to be washing himself at 1.5 years. I was like, it's my baby. I want to be, let's have bath time, and I wanted to be, a part of that.
Yeah.
But because he could do it himself, and with a valid point of, but why are we going to hinder him? And do you know what? Like, reality is we all want to protect and nurture our children and just keep them, so safe and, in cotton wool, really. But actually, I'm starting to realise the more I go on the journey is I'm trying my best to put my feelings aside as much as I can, because actually my feelings are only going to hinder them. Because it's like when he went on that trip at school to London, I did not want him to go, because my immediate thought process was like, well, I don't, driving all the way to London on a coach, anything could happen on the road. All of these thought processes started going through my head, but I was like, I'm going to hinder my child from going on a trip just because of my own insecurities and my own fears. And I had to be like, get over it. And I did get over it, and he went, and it was absolutely fine. But again, well, you'll just have to deal with having a day of feeling sick as a dog and worried to death, unfortunately, because at the end of the day, if I hold them back in all of these things that make me feel uncomfortable or make me feel a type of way, all that's going to happen is they're not going to have the tools to cope in the world.
Well, the thing, isn't it, is a case of you kind of have to, and even me, like there's. Like today,
I do say that quite a lot. I was like, the world will, it'll chew you up and spit you out, mate. It takes no prisoners. Like,
what's the thing is, because
it's brutal.
I mean, that's what you got to ask yourself. Sometimes you think to yourself, like, life's gonna be way more harder than just
put your shoes on.
Do you know what I mean? So it is. And that's the thing. But it starts with very. I'll never forget that time. Remember that time when Franklin had the ball pit. I can't remember how old he was.
Oh my days, yeah, that was savage, man. He was a class A asshole. I didn't like that day, mate. That was no, but again, that's on our beginning of journey of parenting, really, and navigating each other's different ways. Because I was looking at that like, all right, mate, there's lines to this shit, and you're being an utter jerk. Like, oh my God, is this necessary?
But I remember, like, it was one of the things where,
and just for the record, still didn't think it was necessary, even when he's told you the story.
It was definitely necessary.
It's not to that extent, though.
It was 1,000%. I remember thinking to myself,
agree to disagree.
I remember the thing is,
you never just think to yourself, oh, I'm an arsehole. You never think that. You just think that. But I think, again, do you know what the difference is, though? Is I have a heart. No, because my gut and my kids, like, oh my gosh, like, they're a part of me, and if they're not happy, it actually physically affects me.
But no,
on the other hand,
what's funny here? It's like today.
Bat an eyelid.
It's like today when we went to the track and he wanted to do the sprinting, and I remember I said, like, the other day when he went for a run, and he got a stitch when he was gone around the second time. Yeah. Bear in mind, week before that he had gone around with me 7 times and he was fine. Yeah. But of course he got a stitch because he was trying to show off. And he's always like, oh yeah, I want it. But again, it's not coming from a point of, he's still a kid. So he's not quite at the point where he understands what it is to be able to run for a long distance for a long time, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So he's at the moment it's still just play, which I get. But again, it's up to us. It's up to us as his parents to teach him that, what he's actually doing when it comes to exercise in the sense of being healthy or whatever it is. And
you're digressing away from the point. No, but go back to the point.
The point I'm trying to make is that it's up to us to kind of get him to understand what he's getting into and what the situation is. And in the sense that it's not just about the running and the sprinting or the exercise, because of course it ties into what life is. And I remember one of the things I keep saying to him all the time is that anything you're gonna do is difficult. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. I think.
And if you want to be good at something, it's not gonna be easy.
And that's what I mean.
You
Like,
have to work hard.
it's like I think the other day when we were at Eden's christening, and we were talking about your friend with Hurkin, and in terms of what he wants to do. And, he was like, yeah, this thing's going to take quite some time, whatever it is. And I said, well, to be honest, even if you're going to clown college, it's going to be hard because it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
So the truth is, everything's going to be long. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. And I remember today when we went to the track, it got to a point where, Franklin, before we went, he was very, very,
I would just like to say a disclaimer. This guy is a joy sucker. He will suck the joy out of any fucking thing. He will turn it into a lesson. Like, you literally, like, this, respect to you, and we do have very good kids, and you have some very, good things to bring into the equation. But good God, even if you go to play a game of Uno, this guy will
learn straight up.
You will learn it. Literally, our 4-year-old, literally jumping. You suck, literally chucking the cards all over the place like, I win, and literally just like stole the crown from our child when you're trying to help them. So you are a joy sucker. If we go, if we go and do anything that the kids are like, oh, this will be really, really fun, let's go to the park, and they start to do anything, like Franklin, he obviously loves running, but this kid is learning fast, like, even if it's a game of basketball or a game of football, you will do it right, you will do it well, and you will do it on time. You will not, we're not just, no. Even when we was doing football in the garden right before bed, do you know what I mean? It's not even a time for a lesson. It's a time for, let's just have a little bit of fun. No, this is how you kick the ball. Rinse, repeat. This is how you kick. And he will have to keep... No, that's not right. And he has to perfect. Oh, a cartwheel. Fucking hell, man. Do you remember the cartwheel? Oh, my days. This kid's loving a cartwheel. He did not love a cartwheel by the end of that session because, good grief, you will get him doing it about 50 times. That's not right. Do it again. This is how you do it. And just like today on the track with the running, do you know what I mean? We've gone to the track, I get it, there's going to be some lessons in there, but he don't need to be on his knees, straightening his feet for the position of push off for 35 minutes. His poor little hands were red raw because he was in that position for so long.
Yeah, but he has to understand that when he sees...
No, I get it. And I've learned as I've got older, especially with being with you.
I'll never forget,
But still.
I'll never forget. I remember when I went to the Marines, the amount of people. I remember when I decided I was going to go into the army. Like that wasn't a light decision. I thought about that for ages, and I was like, do I really want to go into, you know what I mean? And again, it was a case of
you were built for that shit.
But the thing is, I had already said to him, I already understood what it was gonna. Even like the whole culture of it. Like I don't drink. I'm not laddish in that way. So even the whole culture of what it is that's to be in the army is very far from who I am. However, at the same time, I wasn't just going in there just to I wasn't going in for that. But at the same time, I understood what it was. I had an idea of what it was what I was going into, in the sense that it's something that, I'm gonna become a very different person. And when we got there, the amount of other lads that were there, where within days, they're like, I'm not sure about this. And I'm like, how could you get to this point?
No, but I think...
And still be thinking, and not think to
but
yourself,
not many people
I didn't know. But the thing is,
are as mentally strong as you, though. But this is the thing. But
it went beyond that, because it wasn't just... The thing they struggled with was literally, they need to iron their clothes. It wasn't the fact that we were going to get given rifles.
I'm going to do a Ross. That's what I'm going to do.
But the thing is, like,
bring it down. Son.
What I think is this is it. It starts off that way, and then, for example,
but I do think
for example,
to perfect that level of mental strength that you have. Like we've said this so many times. Like I do not know of another human being that is like you with your mental strength. Like it's commendable, but it's just arsehole at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, I feel like if you don't get your kid to understand that at the beginning, that whatever it is you get into, one, there's
work.
Decide first and foremost what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
whether you're there to play or you're there to actually do
I
the
do
thing.
understand that, but but everything that we decide to play or do is this isn't playtime.
Yeah, but
and it's like the kids literally looking at you like, yeah, but I signed up for play, mate. That's what I signed up for. I didn't sign the disclaimer of let's do some fucking graft here. They most of the time like sign up for. It's even if they come and join you in the gym, they will come and join you in the gym, and they will think to themselves, and they soon realise real quick that this guy's not just going to let them do 3 pull-ups and it be some fun. No, you're going to be in here. You're going to do some sit-ups. You're going to do some press-ups. You're going to do some burpees. You're going to do this. You're going to do that, and the kids are going to be near to tears by the time they're finished. And I'm just like, God, damn.
But they understand that. But they understand that because.
Oh no, they're learning.
They understand there's 2 sides there, because when I do play with them, like before bed, we're playing the monster game, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, it's just
pure play. And
but literally,
they understand the difference between this is pure play, and I'll go all the way when it's going to play.
No, you do.
But it's the case of it's
just in the day when it's not monster game and it's something else. It's just your killjoy.
But the other thing is, like, I feel like if you understand that at the beginning, because like I said, and like again, it's a bit.
Why don't you tell the ball pit story?
Oh yeah, I went off track.
You did go off track.
Yeah. So like.
So the ball pit story, 300 balls.
And again, which is something that I've adapted when I sit him down, I say to him, Franklin, or to both of them, even Eden, I say, if you do this, this is going to happen. And should that happen, this is the next thing that's going to happen. Yeah. Do you understand?
Is this what you want? Basically.
Do you know what I mean? And I remember I said to him.
How old was he, darling?
No, he understood.
No, how old was he?
I said to him, Franklin.
He was a year and a half, was
No. He threw the first ball.
Yeah, but was he a year and a half? Let's say the age, mate. Just say the age. How old was he? Year and a half?
Apparently.
It was probably a year. Do you know what I mean?
He understood.
He was young.
He understood.
About a year and a half.
He understood. But I said to him, Frank, he threw the first ball out. And I said, Franklin, if you throw that ball out again, if you keep throwing them out, you're going to pick them all up. Do you understand? And he looks at me. I said, go get the ball. So he went and picked it up. And then he started throwing them all out again. I said, Franklin, there's about 5 balls out there. You're going to have to pick them all up if you keep throwing them all out. I said, do you understand? And again, he's like, yeah. And I remember he looked at you because it was like, Mum's there, so everything's good. And I looked at him and I said, just so you know. And I was telling you as well.
you were basically letting everybody know in the room, me and him, and you let whatever balls go on this floor. And he literally... No, actually, I think I removed myself. I don't think I was in the room when he got all of those balls out, because I 100% would have said to him, Franklin, don't do that, because that's going to be a big mistake. So no, I definitely wasn't in the room because I remember I wasn't in there because I just remember him crying, and I remember thinking, oh God, what's going on? And then I hear you go, you knew what the situation was, mate.
Pick them all up.
But 300 balls.
But the thing is, though, what it didn't do is this.
It wouldn't help him. Not with one ball, mate. It wouldn't help him.
No, absolutely not. But I knew that it's like this will set the precedence for as it goes on, because he didn't like, because what it did for him, because again, what happened is this, he went through the whole process of, I don't want to pick them up. Okay, I'll start picking them up. Then he'd look around thinking there's too many, and then he starts crying. Bless him. But then again, he bought himself. He got to a point where he did regulate his emotions. He calmed himself down. By the time he finished picking up all the balls, he had stopped crying. And what it did as well was this: it didn't deter him from throwing all the balls out. Because even like he did that again before when he. But then after that, it was a case of picking the balls up. Was okay, fine, I'll do it. And even now, if I say to him, Franklin, if you do that, you're gonna have to do this. He'll go, yeah, okay. So it didn't make him scared that he's gonna then have to, he's like, oh, I don't want to, because. And again, I think if I had helped him, then I reckon he would have then lived in fear of it, because he would have got over the hump of, this isn't actually such a big deal. I threw the balls out. Let me put them back in. So now he's at a point where he's kind of starting to build that resilience in sense of, one, the situation.
Oh, he has got resilience, and he definitely he regulates his emotions much better than he used to now, and he does understand. But and he understands the kind of guy you are.
But again, I think that's
what you all do, darling.
But like, do you remember the other day when we were walking back from from when we picked him up from school?
Oh, you can't even carry this boy's bag, mate. Like, even if I carry this boy's bag home from school, I can see the look of you carrying this boy's bag. Like, you think I don't notice, mate, but I do. I don't care. I'm still going to carry the bag.
But, that's what I mean.
But you literally...
What I'm saying is, these are the little things. Let him carry himself.
No, I understand. I understand. I hear you. And he majority of the times carries his bag. But if he says to me, "I just want to go off and run,"
Go
I'm
for a
like,
run.
"Yeah, I'll carry your bag."
No,
But listen,
Go
that's fine. That's fine.
No wrong with it.
Just remember, if I want to carry his bag, I'm going to carry his bag. Evil me all you like, son. I'm still going to carry his bag if I wanted to.
Like what I'm saying
Most
is,
of the time, I implement carry your own bag.
the thing is, do you remember when we were walking home and there was an old guy in front of us? I think it looked like he picked up his granddaughter because he looked very, very old. And he had the dog.
So.
He had the dog in one hand. He had a bag in the other hand, and he had a scooter. And she was in front of him.
Oh yeah.
Doing whatever. And what happened was
crazy.
the dog had gone round him, so he had the lead, and he was doing this sort of weird penguin walk,
yeah.
and he was like, I don't know what's going on. They were coming to a crossing. There was a car. This guy seemed like he could have had a heart attack there and then. Luckily, he managed to turn it round, and he's like, Jesus Christ. And I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, you bought this on yourself, because for some reason he's not said to his daughter, hey, or his granddaughter, take your bag, you asked for the scooter, take the scooter. But because it's like,
we have always said that though, haven't we? Because I've said that too, frankly. Like, if you're going to take your scooter, mate, you're going to have to. I'm not carrying it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Like, I'm not doing any of that nonsense. And also, if you ask for your scooter and I don't bring it, then there was a reason. Sorry, mate, it's not here. Sorry, mate.
But you know what? That's the other thing as well. I think we've set a precedence there. Like, for example, we had to sort of get in their head that when we say it's time to go, it's time to go.
I have no time.
There's no. I don't care what you're doing. You could be having the best game of hide and seek.
Yeah.
When I call your name and say it's time to go,
it
is time to go.
And we have been because even when we've been at Hinchinbrook and they've been having the best time, like, and we've gone, it's time to go. We don't have to shout. We just like, it's time to go. And literally immediately, whatever they're doing, they stop and off they come. We've never had, what? It's time to go already?
Mm-hmm.
My mate's just got it. I've only been here doing this 10 minutes. I'd be like, excuse me? So yeah, no,
but
we don't have any of that.
But I think is that I think you kind of like.
But you reap what you sow, because I think I always say firm and fair. I'm a fair person. I'm not a douchebag. You might be, but I'm not. No, I'm a firm and fair in the sense that I'm very like, if you want to do something, but I say to them, if I take you to the park and, I'll take you to the park, guys, but I ain't going to sit there for 35 minutes. You can go to the park and have some fun. If it's 20 minutes, 20 minutes. But I'm really like, you give a kid an inch, they'll take a mile.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always been kind of like, when it's time, it's time. I've not got no negotiation for that.
I think the trick is you gotta let kids think that you're willing to go. Because the thing is, as we said in the car, their bandwidth is unlimited.
Oh, unlimited. If you say no 5 times and then you give in, well, that kid's ready for 10 next time.
Yeah,
and then it just goes on and on and on. And if you get to the stage where you're saying no to your kid 15 times and then you end up giving in.
Well, they're just not. Like, eventually,
I don't even understand that world, because I'm like, if I say no, that's it. That is it. I remember with Franklin when he was 9 months old and he kept, I ain't moving nothing. Whatever's in this house, it's staying where it is.
Yeah.
You will learn, don't touch it. And literally, he was going to get this glass bowl. I went, don't touch that. And he went again. I went, do not touch that. He touched that again on the step. And he went and touched it again. I went, right, on the step. And I put him on the step. And then he went to stand up and I went, sit down. All I did, sit down. And he sat back down. And that was it. And that was, did he go and keep playing with the glass bowl again? No. But again, I'm consistent. If I say no, I mean no. And that's that. There's no negotiations.
And I think this is where, because it's a similar thing with Eden. When she was young and we tell her it's time to go now.
Oh, she was a whole different ballgame, mate. Franklin was... She was...
Oh, my
yeah,
days.
she was...
And I remember I think sometimes you handle it different, because frankly, if you raise your voice, he'd relax.
Oh, yeah, Eden,
if you raised your voice, she'd then raise her voice. She's ready
to fight you.
And
she's you. She's literally you. Franklin's me and Eden's you. And Eden, if you challenge that girl, she'll come with energy of, I will take you down. She'll just spur her on. She was a lot more challenging in that sense. And she would scream. I remember many times with the park, and she'd just scream because I said, it's time to go. Again, like, obviously we're talking about now when we say we're going, they don't know, we did have to go through some hurdles with that one, because Eden scream, I don't want to go. I went, sorry, mate, tough titty.
Yeah,
we're going. And then literally I just start walking. And then this kid, you can see, she's like, well, they're going to leave me. Don't leave me.
Yeah,
she's screaming. And it's just, and we look like abusives. And I'm like, I'm not. Just,
I remember, like, one of the times, what do you call it? I went to, when I went to pick her up, she was like, "Oh, I thought mummy was coming to get me." I said, "Well, she's not." And she was standing at the gate, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she was like, "I thought mummy was coming to get me." I said, "Well, she's not here." And then she was like, "I'd like to leave you here if you want." And I'll give it to her. She was like, "All right." I said, "Are you sure? Because I'll leave you here. I'm not joking. You stay by yourself." And she was like, "Yeah. I'll wait for mummy."
Oh, bless her.
And I was like, "Mummy might not get till night time. She's at work." And she was like, she kind of thought over. She's like, "What time?" I said, "Listen, if you don't get in the car, I'm going to leave you here. And I promise you now you're going to be upset." And eventually she got in the car, but she did go to call my bluff. But it was a case of like, it was one of them things where, I mean, now, like we don't really have those situations now. She still say, "Oh, I thought mum was going to come get me." But
yeah, she can get a bit emotional. But she was a lot harder to crack on, learning to navigate her emotions and learning to calm down. And she still has moments now, but it's usually if she's getting overtired or she's not 100% and things like that. But you can tell it because she's definitely getting better at coping with that. But I
think I've learned more about women since I've had a daughter.
You might have learned a lot more about women, but you ain't put in any practice to be any better of a husband.
To be fair, all I've learned is that leave them. Yeah, there's nothing. One time she started crying. I was like, "What's the matter?" She's like, "I don't know."
Shh, man,
like,
they're asleep. Chill out. I'll do a Ross again. Jesus, you don't realise you got these headphones on, mate. You sound
they'll
well.
Sleep, they'll sleep. They got them millions.
But you you haven't got nothing to give on that, have you, darling?
There is nothing to give. You can't give anything.
Honey, I'm not even going to get into this with you. I'm not even going to do it.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, like I literally, it's too late. I ain't got a bandwidth. We'll do that podcast for another day and I'll fight you on that and I won't get nowhere because it'll go in this ear and out the other.
Do you know what? I said what actually, no, like before we wrap it up, I want to set the precedent for the next one. This whole what women want. Because you lot are bullshitters.
Honestly.
In fact, I'll give a quick snippet.
Oh, shut
I'll
up.
give a quick snippet. What did we say the other day?
Cold as ice. That's what you are.
No, you're gonna. What is it? I'm gonna start giving more compliments.
Oh, shut up, man.
What was it? What did you say? What did you say you're gonna do?
I'll hear him. I'll receive him.
Sorry?
I'll receive him.
And you'll not.
I won't say anything like, "Oh no, I didn't think I looked good," or whatever it was.
And then what happened the other day?
Oh, shut up, man. We said something about a haircut, and that was it.
Oh, sorry, what? Okay, let me retell it. In what actually happened. We went and got her hair done. And got some. What did you get? You dyed it. Some of it.
I don't know if I want this out there, mate.
A subtle dye. Anyway.
Yeah, it was subtle.
Comes in. "Oh yeah, hair looks quite nice." And what did you say? "Oh, it doesn't look that different, does it?" I said, "No, I can actually notice it." "Nah, it doesn't look different." Immediately, within like a day of saying, "I'm going to take the compliments that you give."
Yeah, but this is how he gets me. Do you know what I mean? This is how he gets me. Like it's all, honestly, you are a huge play on words. That's what you are. You play on words and you play on my insecurities. Yeah, no, you're, darling, like at the end of the day, this what women want, and you can do all your preaching, you can do all your chat and all this crap. We'll do that podcast another day. But honestly, you have nothing to give.
I think women
you are a stone cold killer. Literally, you're just saying.
I think women have like an undermined. Like there's a film, yeah.
I think the men, all that you think about is one thing, and that's it, and that's all that's on their mind.
There's a film with Mel Gibson.
That's the only thing that's going to make a light bulb switch on. Because I'm sorry, you are literally you're as dull as ditch water, mate. When it comes to anything else, you're just like no. You just don't have anything. You've got nothing. You've got no va-va-voom of anything.
I've got plenty of.
You got va-va-voom for one thing and one thing only.
There's a film with Mel Gibson called What Women Want, and he basically can read.
It's a good film.
He can read the women's minds.
I haven't seen it for a long time, but it was a good film back in the day.
He can read the women's minds, and I'm pretty sure. I think he gives them what they want, as in what he hears. But then what actually comes out, it's like there's another mind that you can. Yeah, never
but
read.
You have to understand, right? It's just such an annoying subject, and it's something that I'm not really here for to talk about with you, because we've had so many conversations about this, and I just think you're a jerk every time. Right. So it's just so redundant. Funny, yeah? No, don't interrupt me. Let me finish. Thank you. I feel like you are somebody this is an impossible conversation, because every time you just have rebuttal to everything, because of the fact that because we are emotional creatures, women, and because we are hormonal creatures. Again, look at the face, look at the eye roll, look at it all. Do you think I don't see? I'm looking right at you. Do you know what I mean? Not even discreet. This is what I'm talking about, people. I have to deal with this level of ignorance, arrogance, arsehole all the time. So the reality is, darling, that there is zero point in having a conversation with you, because you say, what do women want? But the reality is men and women are totally different. Men do not understand all of the aspects that what is to be a woman.
You don't even understand all the aspects.
No, we don't, because that's hormones. Hormones whoop our asses every single month.
So how are we supposed to understand it?
You tell me, because we don't understand it.
Face.
You tell me, because all I can say to you, darling, is you should read the signs. But this is the thing. Some men have it down. They're never going to understand and never going to fully get it. But what they do is they look at their wife and they go, oh, she looked like she's struggling. She looked like she could do with a cuddle. She looked like she could do with this, that, or the other, or a warm bath. You look at the woman that looks like she's struggling. You're like, oh, do you know what I could do right now? I'm gonna kick this bitch while she's down. That's what I'm gonna. I'm gonna add some shit to this bitch's day. I'm gonna make it even worse. That's the kind of guy you are. There's guys out there that grasp it, that are gonna be like, she's struggling. You, on the other hand, period what? Hormone what? You just don't understand it.
Oh,
there are so many stages.
I tell you what, that's the word to call it. And you know what, yeah?
And also, can I just, before you say something else, can I just also say, sorry, probably away from the mic. Let me come back. Can I also just say that
whiplash,
what do you have as a man that's a problem other than a saggy ball bag? Let's be real. Women have to go through so much. Periods every single month. Pregnancy, birth. There's so many things that women have to go through that men don't have to. So I think you'll find.
Nothing to do with you. Oh.
Are you all right? Oh man,
just funny, yeah.
One
thing I would like, I tell you what, when you actually do this, I'd love you for you to get.
That's a strong. He said the L word. This must be interesting. What is it, darling? What would you love? What would you love from me or from women in general? What one is it, darling?
No. If when we have this next podcast,
yeah,
about, as you say, women and their hormones, whatever it is, I'd love you for you to get, I don't know, another female perspective.
Oh, I would love to bring another female on, darling, because I feel like I'm going to need a tag team.
And I think, like I said, I'm going to set the precedence because
you talk shit. That's it. You just talk nonsense, mate. Because again, you got to think, you as a man, you in particular, not all men, because you in particular as a man, you haven't got an emotional bone in your body. You don't even do emotions. I don't even know. Darling.
I just check them.
Darling, yeah. You're literally like, well, I had this thought process, but I went round all the houses, I sorted it all out in my brain, I worked it all out, and then I came out with this, the logical response.
This is you go to straight away.
I go to emotion, and then I'm like, sorry about that was a bit of an emotional outburst, sorry. But do you know what I mean? I live my life saying sorries, for Christ's sake, because I can't keep my emotions in check all the time, because I'm not somebody like you, calm, cool and calculated, and a bloody stone.
The thing is, I would say this shit. I want to discuss the difference between, because when you talk about your hormone, when you say, oh, I'm hormonal, whatever it is, on my period, blah blah blah.
I don't even chat that shit to you, because you ain't gonna listen to it. Pardon?
You do.
Oh, lies, mate. Literally the last 3 weeks. Fuck you. I have not been banging on about hormones for the last God knows how many years, because you ain't here for it. All of my friends will tell you. I always say, he ain't somebody. He don't even navigate on that page. He doesn't even listen to that shit. He's like, I do not.
Because I'm not addressing
this hormone business.
I'm not addressing your hormones.
No, you just say this is you.
Yeah, I'm addressing your character traits.
Yeah, just like I'm addressing your character traits. An utter asshole. I'm emotional. You know.
No.
But you're just the logical, straight to the point, don't know what a hug is. Hugs never helped me in any one of my days. It's never made me feel better. So why on earth would it make you? And then when a woman turns around and says, yeah, but it's like, we were talking about the breakup the other day. Basically, a woman turns around, aka me, and says, yeah, but sometimes it's nice just to have a hug if you've had a bad day. Couldn't you just see that I'm not 100%, that you could offer a hug? And you're like, if you want a hug, just ask for a hug. But I don't want to ask for a hug. I want you to want to give me a hug to make me feel better. But you're like, but I ain't going to think like that. Let me finish. Don't do that. You're like, but I ain't going to think like that, or I ain't going to do that because I've never had a hug that's made me feel better. Why would I think a hug's gonna make... So do you see what I'm saying? So realistically, we were talking about the breakup the other day, but actually, you're what's his face, mate? You're that guy. You're that guy that don't understand about the dishes. You're Vince Vaughn, mate. That's who you are.
No, I understand about dishes.
You don't understand what the principle is of a woman wanting the guy to want to help. That's you're just not that guy.
No, because a hug isn't gonna... The definition of help is that you have a problem, and then the help is going to then help solve that problem. If you're upset about something at work, maybe you got fired, maybe you got this and that.
I remember that time, yeah. When I didn't get fired, I basically got made redundant, and I literally said to you, it was only early stages, and I said to you, I literally turned around to you and said, I'm going to go home now because what you're doing for me, you ain't helping me. So I'm going to remove myself from here because you are pissing me off. So off I went, crying about the fact that I was made redundant and I had a dickhead boyfriend. You're lucky I came back.
me hugging you. I was telling you, I did give you a hug actually.
What, when I lost my job? When I got made redundant?
But me...
Let me give you a pat on the back. Thank you so much. But I'm sure you followed that hug with your practical things. Like
exactly.
You literally said it's not a big deal.
Yeah, because it wasn't.
And I'm not saying it was a big deal.
If you've been doing the job
shut up. Here we go. Start putting in. This is what he does as well. He does this thing. It's all about, play on words, but it's all about tick box. Did you fit into this category, that category? Do you know what I mean? Like, get a grip, man.
If that job had been like your life, your career, that's a different thing. And in fact, I would have given you other practical advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you literally, all I wanted is I just wanted a bit of comfort. But do you know what this guy says? What is it? What do you say about the old word comfort?
It's a killer.
No, is it comfort or what's you basically
comfort
say?
Isn't necessary. It's not needed.
Oh yeah, something like that.
It's something.
No one needs comfort.
No, the only time comfort makes sense is what you're wearing. That's the only time.
Do you see what I'm dealing with, people? 14 years, I don't even know how. I don't even know how. Seriously.
Anyway, but like that. Well, I tell you, but we'll, as I said, we'll touch on it. And like I said, I'd love you to get another person. I think you're gonna need him.
Do you know, I don't need a damn thing because I'm already aware of what I'm with, mate. So I don't, what you think I'm going to have this conversation with you and I'm going to have somebody else here and then what we're going to have an epiphany? What, you're going to suddenly understand hormones? Exactly. No, you ain't.
No. You're going to understand.
The difference. I'm never going to understand you. No. And you're never going to understand me. That's it. Period.
I understand you.
No, you don't. You don't get me at all.
To an extent. And that's actually, you don't understand yourself, so. That's I understand that you don't understand yourself. That's what I understand. Well,
let's cut that
the message
before it gets aggressive. Because
the original message was discipline your kids.
We digress. We always digress.
Discipline your kids. I think things to remember, like get your kids to respect the little things. And then they respect the big things. And I think if let's say your kids are already like, I don't know, 8 years old or whatever it is, get them into the habit of just cleaning up after themselves. I think that alone will be able to set a precedence of, okay, like, because basically you make them understand that life, like in how you're treated in the house is actually special treatment. You're not going to get this treatment outside the house. And I think if you make them understand that what you're doing for them is not the norm and that they're... But
it's also, again,
they're in a privileged environment.
It's like what we've said to them what I've said to them so many times. Like, you want, like, treat people how you want to be treated. If you're going to be not very nice to somebody, they ain't going to want to play with you. Why would they?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's all of those things. You've got to teach them
what respect is to both of the kids. And I said, basically, respect is treating someone how you want to be treated. And just sort of give them the example of like a handshake. In the sense that, I'll put my arm forward, you put your arm forward. That's a form of mutual respect. So when you're talking to people or when you're engaging with people, if you, for example, like Eden, she doesn't like loud noises. She finds it very disrespectful when you're loud, even though she likes to be loud. So I've explained to her, if you're not someone that really likes loud noises, then make sure when you speak to people, engage them at where you want to in the way you want them to speak to you. So it's one of them things where, again, she's not going to get it straight away. But
no, none of the things, I think the lessons that we've taught the children, they've never got them straight away. They always are going to take time.
It takes time.
Consistency is key.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So
structure, routine, consistency.
Yeah. You can't go wrong, really.
You really can't go wrong.
But like I said, it's not an easy thing. And I think, like I said, I think the first thing you do is sort of make sure you're on the same page as parents in the sense of what it is you want. And
that's point, really difficult.
You and again, one of the things where, you know...
And having those kind of conversations, because I do think it's difficult, because you got to think we're sitting here now, 14 years in, and 2 kids... One's nearly 8, one's nearly 5. Yeah. Like, obviously, and we haven't perfected it. We're definitely not trying to make out that we've got this shit down. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we haven't had how many arguments, how many discussions,
you gotta get
how
out
many crosswords,
of
how many,
literally.
I've
done it right. You've done it. You have to get away from that. You
don't get to this stage of having these kind of conversations, as brutal as what we are, without having many, many conversations before this one, to get to this point, because that is the reality. We've had different ideas and different ways of doing things, and we have had to have oh my gosh, like so many times, and then so many times I find you offensive, and so many times that I find you like it's intense and it's really hard, and I don't want to be critiqued. Thank you very much. Don't critique me. Piss off. You always critique me, you little bitch. But yeah. But yeah. So I feel like it's hard.
But no, it is. I think it is, especially because we come from very different backgrounds.
Very different.
Culturally. But again, I think it's something we had to both suss out in a sense that I think we understood that.
I think we've kind of actually gone and been different to both of our parents.
Yeah, we've not followed.
We've kind of gone on our own little journey of trying to... We've taken bits from both, absolutely. And we've just kind of done our own little blueprint.
I think a big part of it has just been trial and error, and sort of understanding that it is that we're on the same side. I think there's a lot of time you see parents where they kind of do that thing where the whole passive aggressive, the simple thing of who's changing the nappy, and I think it is that thing of.
I think as well though. I think it's so difficult when you get into that sort of like mindset and that kind of like back and forwards with those kind of things, and like you say, like. It can be a bit tit for tatty. I think it's really difficult because I think in the moment and at the time you're just living on your own emotions and how you feel, and you're like, man, I did the last one or whatever it is. But actually what we forget in those moments is your child and what they're taking on from those situations and how they are absorbing that information, like even to the extent of when you're trying to stop them from doing something and you getting angry at them because you're like, no, don't do that. But you're getting angry at them for doing whatever it is, chucking something, whatever it may be. But your anger then it's not constructive. It's not something that they're gonna necessarily. It's like the energy that you're giving in that situation and how you're presenting yourself is they're going to absorb that, and they're just going to be little replicas. You've got to. It's honestly you reap what you sow, and you set an example, and they will follow. Because how many times, even with ourselves as a couple, if we've had crosswords and I've had to say, look guys, like this isn't right, like we do not need to be having this conversation in front of them, and I'm not saying that we get it right every time, I'm not saying we're perfect, absolutely not, but the amount of times that even when I come away from a situation like that, I'm like, that's not the way you conduct yourselves, guys, that's not appropriate, we shouldn't have been having that conversation in front of you, or whatever it may be. But again, those little, even if it's passive aggressive to each other or passive aggressive to the child, they are just going to absorb that. And then what they're going to do is they're going to go and be passive aggressive to others. They are then going to go and be angry to others because that's what they see. That's the reality.
I think it's that thing of, I remember like when sort of in the early stages of when we became parents, and I remember there was a time where I can't remember what it was. I think you had gone out, and I think I had Franklin, and I think I was changing his nappy or whatever, and I remember I had a thought process of, like you always hear, you hear parents saying, I'll do everything, I'll do this and the other, and don't get me wrong, there is an element that no, it shouldn't just all be on one parent, but I remember I had to say to myself, I asked myself I always said to myself, especially when it was like a Remember when we used to have we were trying to suss out the whole sleeping thing before we kind of sussed out what we're doing, and we're kind of still trying to figure it out. And I guess there was still a bit of tit for tat of, oh, I've done this, you've done that, whatever it was. I remember asking myself, well, what if you did have to change every nappy? What if you did have to stay out with them all the whole time? Because in the day, this is your kid. You know what I mean? Are you saying you wouldn't do it? Do you know what I mean? Is this a competition between you and your partner, or is this about taking care of your kid? So let's say if let's say something happened. Let's say, for example, you know, you just picked the wrong person, and you know they were like, I'm not doing anything. Would you then just not change your kid? And I think when I realized the answer was no. Obviously, if I had to change the kid every time, of course I'd always change him. If I had, you know, let's say I'm expecting you home at 4:00 and you hadn't got back yet, and it's supposed to be bath time at 5 or whatever it is, whatever time you're going to do it at, and I decided to sit there and be like, well, it's Laura's at bath time, so I'm not doing it until she gets back.
Yeah, that's just,
do you know what I mean?
Childish.
So it was a case of, and I think this is where people sort of, they go to that thing where it goes outside of, we're taking care of the kid, to now, well, now this is the tally chart between me and you, and right now you haven't done your part, so I'm not gonna. Gonna like, you've seen it where I've been around where I've been there where the kid has clearly done his shit, not our kid, but others that, and one parent is like, yep, not. And I've heard about it, like where parents will do that, where they'll purposely not change the nappy because they don't want. They're like, I did it already, so I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, there's that thing. There's some people out there. Well, I'm going to say some guys, but some situations I've heard of where the men are like, I don't change nappies.
Yeah, which is,
I don't do that.
I'll never forget when I was working like that time when Franklin was young.
And also the statement of, you've been at home all day with the children, so why is the house messy? Are you okay? Oh, jab you in the neck. I'd immediately attack. I don't even know how I'd even comprehend or cope with that such situation. I have zero tolerance for that and all.
But I tell you what, but that's the other thing. I think it comes back to what you said when you said, I guess this is for some. This is for people who haven't yet had kids, and I guess they're thinking about it. I think it's important you understand to pick. And again, I guess another thing is picking the right person, not in the sense of, you know, what they're like, but what are they willing to do, and what does parenthood to them look like?
Yeah.
What does it look like?
Because parenthood is sacrifice,
like
selfless.
Exactly.
There's loads of things, and like you say about picking the right person. Like, if I hadn't tidied up the house when the kids were younger and there was toys all over the place, there'd be a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason. I'm busy. I've been doing this, that, and the other. Yeah. Like, why on earth would anybody want to come into an environment and basically start picking fault with that environment as, this isn't good enough. I've been at work all day. This isn't good enough. I've been at work all day, mate. I've been looking after kids. Like, the reality is, it's the hardest job I've ever done.
Yeah.
Looking after children. It's relentless. You don't get a minute sometimes. Literally don't get a minute. So at the end of the day, you know, you need to be with somebody that's going to come into that environment and be like, just crack on.
Oh yeah.
What do you need me to do? I'm just going to get doing with this, and this. You cannot have that level of criticism.
One thing I will say is this, and I don't think a lot of, again, like I don't think a lot of dads will probably, well, I don't know. A considerable amount of dads probably won't admit it. A considerable amount of men won't admit it. I will say this: when you go to work, there is an element where, and you're a new dad. There's an element when you go to work that now becomes not necessarily your chill out time, but you're very much most likely on autopilot when you're doing that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people that have very high-powered jobs, but at the same time, I think any time you're doing something new versus, you could be doing something new and that's pretty easy, but you're not yet aware of it because you're still trying to learn.
But I think it's the clock off. Like, you've got to think to yourself, like, when you go to work, even me, when I used to do whatever, when I used to go and I had to do evenings and different things like that, yeah. I'm not saying my job's strange, whatever, but you are out of the house, you can speak to other adults, you can be in an environment, and it actually becomes, going to work becomes your your time
Yeah.
to be awake.
100%.
Like even a drive in the car
Exactly,
to the establishment or
have enough
wherever you're
time
going
to
to listen to music, whatever it is. You do not, when you're at home with children, you do not get clock off.
No.
You don't even get to necessarily have a cup of tea break because you could put the kids down for a nap and they could literally, you could have had no night sleep the night before and you're like banking on that nap just to sit down and close your eyes. But that child that day, they're 10 minutes, mate.
And the thing
they
is, funny
literally
thing is,
are awake after 10 minutes.
The thing is, even if they do stay down for like 2 hours, you
That's
get to a point
you,
you're like you're always clock watching, thinking, how long
no, but as I'm going to say as a woman, but as the one at home, whether it's a woman or man, you'd be then like, I've got to now start doing washing. I've got to do the dishwasher. I've got to sort a dinner. I've got to sort lunch. I've got to do all the other chores that there are to do. You have to make a decision to be like, am I going to sleep? Am I going to sit down? Am I going to sack off all these chores or am I going to do it all? You're constantly in a cycle of battle of what do I do? And if you don't do the house, you just end up feeling shitter and more guilty because you're like, oh, I haven't done all this. But then at the same time, your body's like, I just want to sit down. But you honestly, when you become a parent, like, I don't even know what it is. My time's obviously the evening when the kids are asleep. But at the end of the day, like before that time, I wouldn't dream of sitting down and watching the TV because I would automatically feel guilty.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm taking the piss.
Well,
I need to get this done, that done.
Well,
other than if I'm not feeling very well or I've got a headache or something, then I would be like, sorry kids, but I just need to sit down. I need a minute. I've got a really bad headache or whatever. But aside from that, you just continue on until they are asleep and in bed. That is the only time you will then get.
Well, you got to think. There's school holidays are coming up.
Yep.
And you already know, like for any parents, gonna be like, fuck, because and it's gonna be. It's gonna be full on, like it's a case of because,
it's full on when we've got kids that will play by themselves. They will play with each other.
Imagine
they will
kids
sort themselves out. They will wake up and they will potentially come in and just say that they're awake, but then they will go and play and sort themselves out. And if they were 2 hours later, they might be like, oh, I'm hungry. Can I have some breakfast? Can I just go make myself some breakfast? Whatever it is. But aside from that, like, so you've got to think we have realistically now from the work we've done with these kids up till now, we've got it quite easy in that sense. They are very self-sufficient and they are they're capable. They both dress themselves, they both do their own teeth, they both can do all the things that they would need to do that they don't necessarily need us. I say all the things at that age. I'm not talking obviously they're going to be cooking themselves a gourmet meal, but even with that, just navigating all of the things that come with summer holidays. However, I love the holidays. I'm not going to lie, I'm that weird parent. I do love the holidays where I get my babies for that period of time when I'm home. I love it. Planning things in, doing a bit of baking, whatever it is. It's nice to have that time with them because I feel like when they're at school, you don't get that sort of time.
I'll tell you what,
I do really love that time.
That is the one thing you do get. When the kids have time off or holidays, you're able to kind of
you learn about them again. You learn about them.
Yeah, because you notice that when they're away from the other kids at school and they're around you more, you can kind of hone them back.
By the time the holiday's finished, you start to see, oh, your behaviour and everything's on point.
And then they go back to school and all of a sudden you're like,
there's
you
that
then have to re-implement the things you did before because they see just these habits and they just start bringing them back home.
And they do.
Like, Jesus.
There
is an element like.
But even now, we're at the first time, like this is the first summer where we've basically said, we just spoke about the other day where we was like, we really need to make the most of this time because realistically, she's going to start school. But again, she's at preschool full time. You just don't get the time with them. And I think it's actually really important to cherish these times because they're only young for a short period of time and you want it to be as enjoyable as it possibly can be,
No, I think it is. But discipline your kids. Don't that's not.
There's discipline and there's being like Philip. There's levels to this shit. You don't have to be like him, guys.
No, I don't think
he is military.
I think if you're telling your kids to do something, make sure
I just think if you're gonna the reality is if you say anything that you want them to do or you're trying to implement something, be consistent. Don't drop off. If you say to them that they can't do something and you've given them a reason, just do not in the next breath go and change that narrative, because the trouble is, as soon as you change it, and they've kind of won, and the trouble is once they win on these things,
they'll keep.
It's with everything. It's then like, I don't want to eat this dinner, I want this dinner. I don't want to do this, I want to do this. I'm really like, well, this was a treat, mate. Be grateful. Exactly, don't and dinner, you're lucky. There's kids out there that don't even get food.
But I think that's the other thing as well, and I think even like that's one of the things even with our kids, I think which I guess it's probably another battle that me and you're gonna have. Oh God! Is the kids? Is the thing of when you give them too much shit,
too many toys. Yeah,
too much. Like
let's quickly before we leave talk about that, because he says that they have too much shit. Absolutely, they absolutely do. They have loads of toys. We've been very blessed with a lot of hand-me-downs. I've had amazing friends that have passed us things, and the first Christmas I gave them a lot of presents. This guy then basically turns around to me and says, but I don't understand, why can't they just have one present? I was like, well, they can't just have one present. That's just not how I roll. I am a celebration. Birthdays and Christmases are a big deal. It always has been in my house. He's somebody that didn't even get a present. Do you know what I mean? So he's like, what? These kids, one present, that's enough. But honestly, I have tapered that back. Give me some credit. Like, I have tried really hard to like bring it back, that they don't get an abundance of presents. They do get a lot of presents.
You know what you remind me of, but not in the first.
If you don't give me that, I'm gonna get really pissed off.
In the first Harry Potter film, you remind me of the kid called Dudley, where he goes.
What's that one? Is that the fat one? I don't know.
His cousin, and he goes. It's his birthday, and he goes.
That sounded really horrible. I didn't mean it like that's the fat one.
Yeah, the fat one. Yeah.
But that sounded really awful. I didn't mean it like that. It's just I'm not a Harry Potter fan, so I don't really watch those films.
And then the kid goes.
People are going to cuss me out.
I can't remember that. Everyone would call it the Daddy's a fat one.
Okay, that's good.
What do you call it? I think he gets. I can't remember what it was. I couldn't remember if it was 35 presents or 53. I don't know, whatever it is. But he goes, last year I got. Let's say, I don't know, for the argument, let's say it's 35.
Yeah.
Because last year I got 36.
Right.
What have I only got? And they're like, oh. Sorry,
yeah,
Daddy,
but
let's go get you another.
If our children ever said such a thing, I'd be like, you ain't getting nothing now. So I understand like the principle of not going over the top. But I have, let's put it on record, I have tapered it back from that first year, and we had a massive conversation about it. Obviously, I'm not doing one present. No, I'm not. There's got to be a meet in the middle. There's got to be a compromise.
What do you mean a meet in the middle?
Well, if they get 10 presents, I think that's still tapering it back.
That's definitely...
That's still tapering it back. 10 presents is still tapering it back. Still one main present and other little bits.
The fact that you think 10 presents,
the fact that you think one present is acceptable is beyond a present. Yeah, but all right, calm down. Calm down. Yeah, but one present is
you know what's funny? Yeah,
criminal.
At some point when your kid goes, one day you're gonna give them one present, one really amazing present, and they're gonna look at you like, is this it?
And I'm gonna say it costs a lot. That one present costs a lot, mate. So be grateful.
But they're not going to be.
They will be, because our kids are not ungrateful kids.
But I don't think it's...
I think if I carried on with the first year level, they probably would have been.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. It goes outside of being ungrateful. If you get a kid, because the truth is, if you give the element that of... If you focus on the quantity, or you emphasize on the quantity...
I'm not emphasizing on quantity. You are. You have, because you're like one present. You're emphasizing on it.
No, I'm emphasizing on the value.
No, you basically, even if I got them, I just get them one main present and other little like stocking fillers, other little bits that they can open, clothes and stuff that I don't even care for.
Why do you need to open it?
But
why does it have to be a gift?
Oh, they love opening presents, man.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You're now loving the fact of opening presents instead of, because it's just the case of, there's just like
it's the whole vibe and atmosphere. No, it's not. Do you know what I mean? Like you, honey.
It's the fact that someone's thought of you and been like, I've gone out my way to sacrifice my money and I've thought of you.
I completely,
here's the gift.
Yes, and I completely agree with you on that.
Whatever you get as a gift.
I feel that.
Whatever you get as a gift is, thank you.
Absolutely.
Fuck that.
Well, absolutely. That's disgraceful if somebody does that.
That's where the kid's going to end up.
I don't think so. Don't think so.
So let me get this straight.
I have faith that they're not going to be like that.
So let me get this straight. Have they not both asked, is this all mine?
Is this all mine? What with?
Their presents. When you do your shrine.
Oh, honey,
she makes a shrine.
I need to.
It's like
wrap this up.
a whole situation.
I'm the one that
as-
makes any situation special in this house. This guy wouldn't.
He's a gift
This
mate.
guy wouldn't even fucking make a cup of tea special, mate. He would not
I
do
make special
anything.
cups of teas.
You do
That's the one thing I do make. 8.
not for me, mate.
No, because you don't drink them.
I do drink.
So I
tea.
refuse. No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do. I have about 3 teas a day. And 1 coffee.
You know what she does? She makes it and then she drinks it later. You have iced tea. You're sick, mate.
I definitely don't. You have an
Anyway.
offence to most things, like
Yeah.
even crisps offend you.
It's
So
disgusting.
let's not listen to this guy
No,
on
but-
his offence things because
but
who
the
are
truth
you?
is, like, these kids have so many toys and he plays with some of them. And he will go to the shop and he'll be like, can I get another toy? Which he already has.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has a thing about
Yeah, and we
buying
do
shit.
have to explain. I get it.
As he gets older, what we need to do is wean him off.
Mm-hmm.
They need to give him all away. Right now, if you went up there and picked out, got one of his boxes and said, we're getting rid of all of this, he'd have a meltdown.
But we have,
Even though he doesn't touch them.
but we do, but we are doing like the giving to charity on a regular basis. Like we doing it a good 3 times a year. We do, and he gives away some of his toys. He does. Like I'm not
Some
saying it's to the extent of what you would like, but it's more than what we would have ever done. And it's yeah, again, he's got more than we would have ever had. I understand that, but I'm sorry, I really need a wee. And I'm not going to have you sit here and make out that I'm some fucking like somebody that's just like, because again, we wouldn't have kids that we've got, mate. If I'm that fucking like, oh yeah, just have everything you want. Let's go in a shop and buy what you want. That is not me. That's not going to happen. I tell them all the time, if we're in a shop, don't even think for a second that you can ask me that you want this toy, that toy. And if he asks for a toy that he's already got and it's his money that he's
And that's-
spending, I will tell him, you've already got it. You're not getting that again.
You start saying it now.
All right. High five to you that you said it from day one when he was just born. Do you know what I mean? And he was fresh out the womb and you were like, yeah, I got this shit down. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying. I know I'm doing it.
I'm just saying.
Do you know what? Praise you, Philip.
I'm just
Well
saying,
done. Would you
think
like
so-
a
I think-
pat on the back, darling? Is that what you would like? Would you like a little bit of,
Nah, I'm not spoiled.
Oh, guys. Honestly. You and your little laughing. Keep laughing.
But no, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
tune in for next week when we talk about hormones.
Hormones.